This video is a lot harder than I thought to make. I don't know why I feel so nervous to do it. I thought it would be fitting to sit under this picture because my uncle actually passed away last week, or we had the funeral for him last week, and he actually printed this artwork for me, and so I thought it might be nice to sit in front of it for this video. I am making this video to share with you the news that my Aunt Linda passed away. And I want to tell you the full story of it because I think it's just so special, and I think that I should start a little ways back in the timeline. Linda's parents took care of her, and they took her for all the holidays when she wasn't in her group home or being taken care of by her staff. But for the last 25 to 30 years, my parents have been doing that for Linda since when her parents got too old, and then both of them passed away. I'm 38, and for the last 30 years, I have watched my parents take care of Linda. And by take care of, I mean have her for each of the holidays, take phone calls from her weekly, do drive-bys when Linda was sad or lonely. And so she has been a part of my life forever. Even before my parents kind of took over, Linda was at all the activities. We were very close with her. 2 years ago, my parents went on their mission to Serbia, and I took over taking her for the holidays, taking the phone calls, majority. The other siblings all helped too. And very quickly after my parents left, there was a change with Aunt Linda. When my parents had her, she could get changed by herself, use the restroom by herself, and because of the shock that it was and how really hard it was when my parents left, that changed really quickly. And so it was a little bit different when I was taking care of her versus before they left. About a year after my parents left, Linda was really sick. She was in the hospital, and we thought that maybe it was her time to go. And when I visited her, I told her, I said, Linda, you cannot die before my parents get home. I said, you have to wait for Chad and Sebafer. Can you please wait for them? And she agreed, and she wanted to wait for Chad and Sebafer. If you guys know her, you know that when something is coming up or when there's something in the future, she really likes to make sure she knows the plan. She continually, on a routine basis, let me know that when Chad and Sebafer get home from her mission, then she can die. And so there were two things that she was looking forward to: seeing Chad and dying as soon as he got home. Because every time we talked, she told me how badly she was hurting. Now, her staff took really good care of her, and if she was uncomfortable, they were doing everything they could to help her feel more comfortable. However, pain comes with getting old, and Linda was very old, and she had a lot of arthritis, and so she was in pain a lot. Moving forward to when my parents got home. My parents got home on Monday, June 3rd, and the plan was to go pick Linda up on Wednesday for our family dinner. However, Linda wasn't able to do that because she wasn't feeling well. And so me, Joel, my mom, and my dad went over and visited Linda in her apartment.
Oh, my sweet Linda. Oh.
I'm getting sick, okay?
You been what?
I got sick with that. I had to shot my knee, my arm, and my shoulder.
You know what? I'm so happy to see you.
You home mission?
Yeah, we're home from our mission.
Oh, God!
What'd you call her?
Sebafer.
I thought I heard Jennifer.
You'll show your mother gave me that taser.
Oh, that water's so good to you.
That is adorable.
I thought that was a picture frame.
You got it for her.
Yeah.
That is sweet. I didn't think you had that going anymore. That's pretty neat. Linda,
Huh?
it's so good to see you.
So as you can see, she had that really big welcoming that she always had, that she always gives to you. That is going to be one of the hardest things to not have in my life, is that just really boisterous scream of excitement when she sees you. So that was on a Wednesday, and by Friday, Linda was admitted to the hospital. On Saturday, my sister Ellie and Julie, they were able to go visit Linda in the hospital with my mom. On Sunday, me, Joel, the kids, we went and visited Aunt Linda after my parents' homecoming. It was in the evening, and she didn't greet us when we walked in. Her eyes were closed most of the time. So we visited with her and just told her we were there. We said a prayer with her because she liked that. Sometimes we would say prayers over the phone together, and she just liked when we prayed for her. And so we prayed with her, and then as we were leaving, now keep in mind she hadn't said anything this whole time, but as we were leaving, we were walking out of the room, and her nurse walked in, and she looked up at her nurse and she pointed the way she does. She was kind of pointing at us walking out the door like this, and she said, "Those are my kids." And that was the last thing that Linda ever said to us, or that I heard her say. And I think that's pretty special. The first time Linda referred to, you know, my mom's kids or my mom's grandkids as her kids, you know, I think she was holding one of the grandbabies, and no, because she referred to us as her kids too. But I know that my mom told me when she first referred to the kids as her kids, she kind of looked at my mom as in hoping that maybe she didn't offend my mom, or, you know, maybe she thought she was going to get scolded saying, "Those aren't your kids, those are my kids," you know. And my mom just smiled at her and she said, "Yes, those are your kids." And she said that just like a relief came over Aunt Linda's face. And so she really looked at us and the grandkids as her kids, and we are hers. So if you look at the timeline, Linda saw my parents on Wednesday, and she was in the hospital 2 days later, which I'm like, well, you really stuck to your word, didn't you? She just knew that she was ready to go, and she knew that, that she had to wait for Chad, because she loves all of her siblings. She really loved my dad and my mom, and towards the end, she really referred to my mom as her mom. And when she was talking about Chad and Jennifer, she would say Chad and mom, or, you know, mom. And I thought that was really sweet too. So when Aunt Linda left the hospital, she went home with hospice to her apartment, which was really nice. Because there was my uncle's funeral, all of the siblings were in town. And so every one of her siblings, except one of the aunts, but we FaceTimed, and so every sibling was able to say goodbye to her, and a lot of nieces and nephews that weren't normally in town were in town, and they were able to go say goodbye to her. And because it was my parents' homecoming, Julie and Ellie, who are out of town, happened to be in town, and so it was really neat that everybody was able to say goodbye. And then 2 nights before Aunt Linda passed away, my parents had spent most of the day, or all of the day, in her apartment, and they said that so many past staff members came and said their goodbyes, and so many of Linda's special needs neighbors came over and said goodbye, and I was there for one of them, which was really special. She came in and she was really nervous, and she didn't say a whole lot, and she just stood by the bed, and the only thing she said was, "I love you, Linda." And it was just a very sweet, special thing that I got to see. Linda's staff was in and out taking care of her and changing her, but then we started doing the changing, or at least assisting with, because it was just a really nice way to honor Linda. I stayed with her in the evening with my parents. Sitting in Linda's room, and I'm looking through her photo albums, and the staff and I were talking about, you know, she's had a good life, and they've always done activities, and she used to always do kind of performances. I remember being really young, and we'd, you know, go to the facility where she was at, and they'd put on plays, and you know, performances, and they've gone to Disneyland multiple times. I know they routinely went to Lagoon. For the hand she was dealt, I think that she has just done so well. And there's Bo and Bonnie in the middle, my dad and baby Julie. Okay, that is a really good picture of Aunt Linda. Oh, and that's her mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa. And this is just very typical Aunt Linda. You can see her arm around her friend and she's holding on to her other friend. And that is so typical. She's always been very lovey and caring. How sweet is this photo album? I want to show you what Linda's staff did. So they set up, you know, some chips and some candy and some cookies, and there's drinks in the fridge, and then they set up all these photo albums so that when people come they can look through them, and I thought that was just the most thoughtful thing. And of course Linda's life wouldn't be the same without her staff, and yes, I know it's a job and they're paid to do it, but her staff loves her, and they were so involved with her everyday life that they really are a part of who Linda is and was, and my heart could never thank them enough for doing such a wonderful job. And then the next day, my mom said, I think I'm gonna spend through the night with Linda because I think this might be the last night. And so me and my dad and my mom, we spent through the night with Aunt Linda on a Friday, and we slept a little bit here and there. We kind of tried finding some shut-eye on the recliners, and that was good, but one of us at least was up every hour giving her medication, which was also neat that we got to literally serve her the way she deserved. And the whole night it was, you know, we were just watching and thinking maybe it was going to be time, and so we were with her all through the night, and then as the sun was coming up, we opened the blinds to her room, and we could tell things were slowing down. And then there was a point where her staff was sitting right next to her, and Aunt Linda opened her eyes for the first time. And so we all came over because that was a big change, and so it was my dad, me in the middle, and my mom, and I held my dad with one arm, he held me with one arm, and then both with our other arms we held Linda, and then my mom was right up by Linda's face, and then a staff member that had been with Linda for a very long time was on her other side, and it was quiet, it was peaceful, and this is just my interpretation, and I could be wrong, but earlier my mom had said, oh, well, we're in the delivery room, there's no turning back now. And so she kind of referenced this to the time of birth, and I just couldn't help but see at Linda's face, you know, when little babies, they get ready to cry and they have that really big frown. Aunt Linda made this really big frown, and her chin was kind of quivering, and it just was so childlike. And if you believe in an afterlife, which we do, we really believe that Linda was getting ready to pass on to the other side. And her staff told me earlier that each time Aunt Linda would talk about going home to her parents, she kind of had mentioned, well, then I'll come back and I'll see you, you know, I'll come back and I'll visit you. And her staff told her, I don't think that's how it works. Once you go to heaven, you're just in heaven, and we'll wait here and be here. And then when we die, we'll be reunited with you. And that made Linda really sad. That was a kind of a hard realization for her, that she had to leave us in order to go be with her parents. And so, I don't know, I just got the small feeling and thought that maybe she was frowning and kind of sad because she didn't want to leave us. So as her chin was quivering, my mom really softly just kind of cupped her chin, and Linda had this little baby tear just kind of in the corner of her eye, and it made me realize I've never seen her cry with tears before, ever, when she would kind of cry. And so we just watched and let her know that we were there and letting her saying goodbye. And my mom leaned down and put her face right on Linda's forehead and kissed her and just encouraged her and comforted her. And then when my mom sat up, there was just a huge tear that had come down. And I think that was just so beautiful to all of us. And then she slowly just didn't take another breath. And it was one of the most beautiful moments of my entire life. And the feelings really were similar to birthing a child. And when I cry, I don't cry because she's gone, even though I am really gonna miss her. There was just this overwhelming sense of happiness and joy because Linda was very ready to go. She was very ready to go, and she was so excited to be with her mom and dad. I know how much she missed them. And I felt so close to her the whole day. I drove home. After that, we, it had been a really long day. We drove home, and I just felt so peaceful. I came home and took a nap all of the day. Most of Saturday, I just came home and slept. And then Saturday night, there was the most beautiful sunset. And so I texted my family, and I just said, where's my phone? Oh, my phone's right there. Basically, I text my family and I said, the most fitting sunset for Aunt Linda tonight. Said how much I loved her, and then Julie sent pictures of her sunset because she was driving back home, and it was a beautiful rainbow. And then Ellie sent a picture, or not a picture, but Ellie said that she saw this red bird, and when she looked up the meaning behind it, it was that a loved one was near. And all of us just truly, I think we were all very much in tune with Linda. And my hope is that she was allowed to see and feel all of the people that were loving and missing her. And I truly hope that her reunion in heaven was joyous. I know that it was. I know that it was beautiful. She did ask me to fix her hair because we have been planning her funeral for a very long time, for 3 years to be exact. About a year before my parents left and the whole time they were gone. So we already have a funeral dress. I'm doing her hair. She wants everybody to talk. And let's see, what else did she say she wanted? She definitely wanted potato salad for her lunch afterwards. So I think that was everything. Did I get everything? Did I forget anything? I don't know, but that's the gist of it. And the reason that I'm very happy to share that with you is because so many of you have watched and cared about Linda. And if you hadn't seen her in a while, you would ask and you would inquire about her. And not just her online internet friends, but everybody that came in contact with Linda loved her. She was particularly fond of Mark's parents. She would call them Grandma and Grandpa because she didn't know their names, but she knew they were Mark's parents, and so they were Grandma and Grandpa to her. So to my sweet Aunt Linda, the last 2 years I had the opportunity to look over you, look after you with my family, and we benefited from that far greater than you ever could. And until we meet again, I love you and goodbye. She's so sweet. She loved her mark.